Friday. What is up, everybody? Hope you're doing well out there. Rob Ellis, Tone to Shields. We are Sports Take, JAKIB Sports YouTube Network. Tone, what's up, my man? How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great, my friend. I can't complain not one bit. Glad to be on with you as always. Let's have some fun today.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Twiz, Bry Guy, Mike, William, Jim G, Jason, Nina, David, James, Emreas, Teresa, Matt. Let's see who else we have here in the early going. Soul, Tyler. Hope you guys are good. I'm awake. Are you? Yes. Good to see everybody out there. Yeah, Tone, it's weird. And we went through it last weekend too, but it is still weird when you go through an entire football season, 17 games, regular season, then a playoff game where you have 18 weeks of getting ready for your team playing that weekend and they're not playing. There's a little something missing, man. There is. I'm excited for the championship games. Don't get me wrong, but there is a little something missing.
Yeah, I mean, let's call it what it is. The Eagles blew it. They blew their opportunity. They lost their golden ticket in the mail. Shout out to Willy Wonka. They deserve to be where they are.
Right, they're right where they should be.
Maybe we deserve better as fans, right? As spectators, maybe we deserve better. But they deserve to be exactly where they are.
Oh yeah, yep. Your record is who you, as Bill Parcells. Your record is who you are, man. Right, and you're bounced because you deserved it. What is up, Joe? Ken, James, Fitness Rebel. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm with you, man. You're right. It's not. Nobody was robbed. There wasn't a bad call by the officials. You know, you didn't have crazy injuries. There really isn't any kind of excuse at all. I mean, it is what it is. They're exactly where they should be. So let's hit a couple things here, Tony. And we got a lot to do today. Anthony Sanfilippo is going to join us at 12:30. Interesting happenings with the Flyers. I will just say this. Yes, Fitness Rebel, you did miss roll call. And you got a touch. You did. What is up, Eagles fans? What is up, Ken? So let's hit a couple of these things, Tone. Vic Fangio, we know, is going to be official sooner rather than later, right? And one of the things we're hearing today is Joe Barry, who and thank you, I'm awake, for the cap tip. I appreciate it. He was fired as the DC of the Packers, but he's got a really good track record as a defensive coach. And one thing that's interesting to me, Tone, and this is something we'll really delve into a little bit, because I have the 5 big questions for the Eagles. Joe Barry and Vic Fangio, basically wherever they've gone, have had very good linebacker play. We know the Eagles don't have good linebacker play right now. So I do wonder if that doesn't signal, if, again, Joe Barry's not hired yet, but I wonder if that signals that they are at least willing, even though Howie said, he kind of denied it at the press conference, but I do wonder if they're willing to come off their stance a little bit and try to make linebacker a little bit more of a priority. I do wonder.
Yeah, I mean, you have to consider it, right? Because at the end of the day, when you bring these guys in, and when you couple it with the fact that Nick is losing leverage and losing power in every aspect of the words, these guys, these new coaches on both offense and defense, but more so in particular in defense, in reference to what you're talking about, they're going to bring in their kind of staff, the people that can execute what they're trying to get across, and they're going to speak to Howie Roseman about the personnel they need to execute their respective game plans. So it's a possibility, that Vic Fangio's presence can lend to maybe improved or higher attention, rather, to the linebacker position. Howie Roseman clearly has a ton of faith in Nakobe Dean. Not sure how or why, but he does, and it's likely because he drafted him. But he has a lot of faith in him. And I would like to be optimistic about Nakobe Dean, but when it comes to his health, I'm pessimistic.
Yeah,
I'm optimistic about the talent. I'm pessimistic about the health. So it's kind of hard for me to really look at him and say, he can be the future. They're going to have to probably sign someone in free agency as well, at a deal that's pretty favorable for the team. They kind of piecemeal that position for the past few years.
Yeah.
People forget, before TJ Edwards really broke out, they really weren't trying to put him on the field. They had Alex Singleton out there, and they had the guy Eric Wilson. Is that who it was?
Oh God, he was a disaster.
He was awful. But eventually, I think Gannon woke up and said, okay, I think my two best linebackers at that moment are TJ Edwards and Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor was starting to come on, remember? And then he got hurt in that Denver game after he forced a fumble. He got hurt, and we pretty much never seen Davion Taylor ever again.
Yeah.
But overall.
And by the way, you talk about 2 third-rounders in that they whiffed on. Well, I can't say whiffed on. They whiffed on Davion Taylor.
Yes.
Jury is very much out on Nakobe Dean. So I'm not going to do that to Nakobe Dean. But
exactly,
it's very much in question what there is there. Yeah.
Exactly. But bottom line is you bring in a guy like Vic Fangio, wherever he's been, he's had competent to high quality linebacker play.
Yeah.
I would like to believe that the Eagles are going to lean into that.
I think so too.
Because of what's traveled with him everywhere he's going.
Yeah, and maybe part of it is wishful thinking on my part.
I mean, let's be honest about it. Part of it is wishful thinking, but also part of it is paying attention to history and trends.
Exactly.
So sure, we may be hoping for the best in terms of the Eagles, but the reality is he has a trend. He has a track record. There's a history there that you can tangibly latch on to.
Right.
So maybe some people may call it wishful thinking. I say, well, we're just following the trend.
Mm-hmm.
And that and last time I checked, that's what smart people do. They pay attention to the trends. They pay attention to history, you know what I mean, to form what may happen in the future. That's how we do this thing, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, look, there's a lot of different ways to look at it. Now you go to the other side of the ball, offensive coordinator. So, clearly that didn't work out. Here's what we know so far. Cliff Kingsbury, Jared Johnson, Kellen Moore. Now, I'll play devil's advocate on the positive side for a couple of these just for a minute. Okay. Let's start with Kingsbury. And I think you guys know where I stand. I don't love any of these guys, to tell you the truth, but I'm just going to give you the positive side of this thing. So Kingsbury runs a very similar offensive approach to that of Lincoln Riley. Lincoln Riley was Jalen Hurts' coach at Oklahoma his senior year when he transferred. And he had a great year with Lincoln Riley, as do a lot of quarterbacks, but he did. They run that air raid. It's not exact, but it's similar, okay, in philosophies. That's one of the pros for Cliff Kingsbury. One of the pros for Kellen Moore is when he was with Dallas, for the most part, his offenses were ranked pretty high. At one point, they were number 1. There are cons, which we'll get to. Jared Johnson is considered an up-and-comer. In fact, he was the quarterback's coach in Houston with Bobby Slowick, where they, really, and CJ Stroud was a beast, to his credit, but they did a great job cultivating him, developing him, getting the most out of him. And he's thought of, he is going to have multiple interviews for offensive coordinator opportunities in the NFL this offseason. So the Eagles aren't the only ones who like him. Now, the con on all of these guys, Kingsbury couldn't succeed at a high level with Patrick Mahomes at Texas Tech. You really could just drop the mic after that and kind of walk away, but, whatever. Well, that's not all. Did not have a great track record other than one winning season in Arizona. Now, you may say that he had a quarterback with some traits that Jalen Hurts has. Not the biggest guys in the world, can move, those kind of things. Okay. Fine, if you want to go there. And then, Kellen Moore's close in LA last year was horrible. Dallas's offense got markedly better, and so did Dak Prescott, minus the playoffs. Got better when he left. Okay, so that's the pros and the cons. Jim Bob Cooter's name's been put out there. He worked previously with Sirianni. Despite the weird name, the guy is a pretty respected, coach in the league. Anyway, that's kind of what we know offensively, Tone. As of right now, I would expect a lot more candidates to be coming in here.
Yeah. Sorry about that. This cough. Nonetheless, I think whatever they do, and I think you kind of touched on it, the Philadelphia Eagles have to do what's in the best interest of their quarterback, because Jalen Hurts had a down year. You want somebody to come in and look. I know I have my own opinions about Kingsbury, Kellen Moore. I don't know anything about Jared Johnson. But the reality is, if they end up being the guy, if one of those guys end up being a guy, can they maximize Jalen Hurts' skill set? regardless how, again, am I a Kingsbury fan? Do I like his face? Do I trust him? No. But if it's not about who I like, it's about can you get the job done? And I think that's what we got to wrap our mind around, right? Forget if we like them or not. Forget if we like their personality. Forget if we like anything about how they handle past situations. In the context of their role in Philadelphia, can they bring the best out of Jalen Hurts? If that's possible, then I'm rolling with you. I'm rolling with you, until the end of time. But if you can't, then that's when you're rolling the dice. So they have to get this move right, Rob. They have to, because you can't just keep shuffling offensive coordinators.
No,
you're hurting your quarterback.
They've been through a lot the last 3 years. If you go back to prior to Nick coming in with Steichen, you remember at the end of Doug, he wanted his guys, they wanted their guys. Frank Reich left, Mike Groh. We went through a lot. So they've had a lot of turnover. Now, some of it is Frank Reich left to be a head coach and Shane Steichen left to be a head coach. That's the way it goes. But they've had a lot of turnover, and there's no doubt, Tone, that bouncing both of the coordinators that you hired last year is an awful look. So you can't do that 2 years in a row. Like, we could sit here and blame Nick for that. I don't believe that was Nick's call. I believe that came from above Nick, whatever. But somebody's paying the price this year if the coordinators stink. If Vic Fangio doesn't work out and whoever you hire as the offensive coordinator, like even Howie, is going to have a lot of explaining to do to Jeffrey Lurie, not to mention it's probably the end of Nick. If his two coordinators aren't good, he's going to be out too. So, Fangio and the OC are critical hires. Let's go back to Fangio. I don't want to gloss over this because there were two stories yesterday of players in Miami not necessarily getting along with him. One came from Drew Rosenhaus. Now, let's also be clear about this. Drew Rosenhaus represents 10 different Dolphins players. So there's an agenda there. I'm just saying he's getting one side of this thing. I don't know that he's necessarily getting the other side of it for what.
And plus, he's an agent.
And they're slippery. Okay,
yeah, he can be very unscrupulous.
So you have that, and then you have an Albert Breer. Albert Breer was on Colin Cowherd on FS1, and did echo those same sentiments. So the gist of it is, he wasn't seeing eye to eye, Vic Fangio, with everybody on the defensive side. Not all the players, but not everybody. Now, the other part that you're hearing coming out of there is some people in Miami saying, don't put this on Fangio. You got a lot of guys who weren't willing to put the work in. They didn't like the fact that he would quiz them on, some looks that they went over earlier in the week. He asked a couple guys to stay after who were struggling, and they weren't interested. So some of this, you always got to look at both sides have their agendas. That's all I'm saying. I'm not, totally defending Fangio either. That's something the Eagles, I hope, vetted before they agreed to bring him here.
Yeah, it's something you have to consider. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. You definitely want to consider how he jives with, the personnel. You definitely want to keep that, in mind. But also, when you hear a competing story saying, like you just said, well, in all reality, some of these guys didn't really want to work hard. And you think about that, it's like, okay, they're in Miami. The culture of just that city can be aloof, right? Who knows overall at the end of the day? It's hearsay, it's rumor, but he's here. He's signed. He's gonna be the defensive coordinator. So regardless of what happened in Miami, we're going to find out very quickly if those stories are true, if they were just simply rumors, if it was just guys who were just bitter, however you want to slice it. Yeah. But also, from what I was hearing, Fangio didn't really like it down there anyway. Just the overall. Yeah. He's a East Coast guy. Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, like he has family here, So Miami might have been a little bit fast for him in terms of just like the culture of the city and just the area. So it probably made it easy for him to make his decision. He was trying to get to Philly in the first place anyway, but now he's here. Regardless, we're going to find out very quickly if those are facts or if they're just rumors.
Well, here's what I would also say to that: to when your defense collapsed the way the Eagles defense collapsed last year. I mean, third worst in scoring, terrible against the pass, okay against the run, but we all know that a lot of that was early in the season. You know what? How about you dig in and listen and try and get better rather than pushing back if you had any kind of issues? Like, this dude has a track record. A lot of these people, other than Fletcher Cox and a couple other guys, don't. So maybe you listen to what this guy's trying to say, when he comes in here, rather than worrying about what happened in Miami. Like, I gotta take care of my own backyard before I worry about somebody else's.
Yeah, like, let's be honest, guys here, they have no leg to stand on. I don't care about your opinions, okay? Y'all gonna get the toughest coaching possible.
Yeah,
in my humble opinion.
And you deserve it.
Y'all have no equity in this situation. You guys are awful down the stretch. It's time to get back to the drawing board and bring in some legitimate coaching in the building.
Yeah, that's my thing. It's like, I hear that. And look, if the Eagles had lost another defensive coordinator to take a head coaching gig and the defense was great last year, I'd listen to it a little bit more. Okay. But I don't want to hear anything, quite frankly, at the way this defense collapsed.
Right. Like, as bad as they were.
Yeah.
There's no space for me to care about your opinion about someone's personality.
Yes.
You guys need high quality coaching, not high quality pandering.
Yes, pandering is a good word. It's a good way. None of you deserved your rear ends kissed after the way that this thing went. It should be, and I think one of the other things, Tone, that's going to be very interesting is how Sirianni goes about things this year in terms of, I don't want to say discipline, because I don't mean, hey, do 10 push-up nonsense. I mean, like, is there going to be a little bit more maybe accountability? Are you going to practice them a little bit harder? Like, I value the fact that they care about keeping their guys fresh. And I don't mean in the middle of the year, some guy who's in his 10th year, you're going to make him grind on a Wednesday. I don't mean that stupid stuff. Like, that to me is ridiculous. But I do mean, like, maybe they took advantage of you a little bit last year because you are more player friendly in that sense. And I wonder if he doesn't go at them pretty hard, because we heard from jump at camp that attention to detail wasn't great with this team. So I think he may dig in on these guys a little bit harder. And you know what? I'm all for it. Seriously, I'm right here for it if that's what he does.
Yeah, I'm all for it too. My only fear is because of the new dynamic that's going to take place, because Nick Sirianni is not going to have as much control as we previously probably thought he had.
Mm-hmm.
One of my fears is that the respect level isn't going to be as high for Nick Sirianni.
Yeah.
My fear is that they're going to have more respect for their coordinators rather than their head coach, because the players know the head coach isn't making any decisions anyway.
Right.
So I'm afraid this is going to turn into a Dallas situation, a Jason Garrett type of situation. Everyone knows that at the end of the day, yeah, Jason Garrett was there, but or even McCarthy, he's there. But yeah, you need something done. Go talk to Howard. Go talk to well, in the Cowboys case, go talk to Jerry. Go talk to Stephen Jones. You want something done. Don't talk to McCarthy. So in this case, you want something done? Oh, okay, yeah, we ain't got to go through Nick. Let's talk to our coordinators, or matter of fact, let's talk to Howie or Jeffrey Lurie and see what we can get done. Mm-hmm. That's my fear. But it's already trending that way.
Right, and that's I agree with you. It's definitely something to monitor, I would say, more than anything else. You got to keep your eye on this thing and see what happens here. I guess the counter would be, unless you think they're just full of it, and I don't think Fletcher Cox is full of it personally, especially as impassioned as he was. The vets really went to bat for him. Like Kelsey, Fletcher Cox, there's somebody I'm missing here. Went hard. Where
I know AJ said he liked Nick and all that kind of stuff.
AJ, yeah, but you know what? The AJ thing was weird. Like, I think he does like him as a dude. I don't know that there's the respect there as a coach, and that's a fine line too. Right. But Fletcher Cox is a free agent. Fletcher Cox could have been like, "Hey, man, you know what? It was an awful finish to the year. We all got to get better. I'm out." Like he really, he went after Jeff McClain for even asking him. I don't think you do that unless there is a level of respect. There.
Yeah, and you also don't do that. You also don't do that if you don't intend on coming back here if you can.
Right.
That's
true too.
If you can, that's the operative words. If you can.
I think the Eagles would be foolish not to bring him back. Now, if Fletcher's asking for something ridiculous, obviously all bets are off. He made 10 last year. Would you have any issue with him coming back at that number this year?
I won't have an issue with it, but he might.
Yeah. And again, I know you got to draw a line at a guy who's, what is he, 32-ish, whatever he is.
Yeah, something like that, 33, 32.
But he's a priority of mine. Here's why, Tone. I don't know. I like Milton Williams a lot. I love Jalen Carter. I don't know about Jordan Davis. So,
and because of that, Fletcher
yeah.
Cox has a lot of leverage.
Correct.
Because that he was the one that him and Milton Williams stood the test of time, and Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis obviously did not, last season. So I think Fletcher has more leverage in these negotiations that he probably had over the past couple years.
Yeah. I you know what? I think it's a good point. I think he probably has more this year than he had last year.
Yeah, he led them in defensive snaps on defense.
Yeah.
And he was
still
10
showed
years
up.
these guys senior. 8 years these guys senior.
Here's one of the biggest indictments of the young guys. The two best players on the Eagles defense in that Tampa game, in the playoff game, and granted, they got killed, were Fletcher Cox and Brandon Graham.
Yeah, I even throw Milton Williams in. I think Milton had a pretty
Milton
good
was
game.
good too.
I think Milton had a good game.
I guess I was pointing those guys out because they're so much older.
Right.
But you're right.
You're right.
That to me, it's like, dude, look, there's some people need to find mirrors, man.
Yeah, if BG can dig deep, if Fletcher can dig deep, come on, man. That's why you have to. That's why you have to question certain guys' desire, or certain guys' discipline or motivation. What moves them. You got to question it. Fletcher and BG been in the league so long, they just come from a different ilk of mindset. Jalen Carter and Jordan Davis, their talent is undeniable. And Jalen Carter's a rookie, so I give him a slight pass for hitting the wall. It's not uncommon for rookies to hit a wall. It's not uncommon at all. But Jordan Davis, I'm looking at him a little differently.
Yeah.
The fact that he's hyper aware of what happened, and that he knows he needs to get back into the lab. Okay, all right. Knowing is half the battle. I appreciate that. It means a lot to me when a guy acknowledges the fault in his game.
Right.
I that's half the battle.
Jordan does that. Yeah.
That's half the battle, in my humble opinion. Now he just has to, put foot to pavement and start doing some wind spreads or something.
Well, no, the acknowledgement's great, and that tells me you're not in denial.
Replace all the furniture in the house with treadmills and ellipticals. You know what I mean?
You get rid of the couches.
Get rid of all the couches. Get rid of
personal chef lives at the house.
Get rid of all the lazy boy furniture.
It doesn't allow. Has cleared out the fridge, and it's only there's only fruit in there, and vegetables.
It's a garden back there. It's a garden in the fridge. You know what I'm saying?
He walks into his kitchen. He's like, "Why is there grass growing in the?" He
walks into the living room, and all you see is treadmills and ellipticals and bikes.
Ellipticals, yeah. No, but I mean, honestly, like first year, understandable. Second year, And if it was only 1 or 2 games, I'd be like, all right, it was like 7 games, where he went MIA, and we were looking for him. So, I mean, you could have conceivably, you could lose Fletcher Cox and you could lose Hassan Reddick.
Mm-hmm.
For its defense, it's already on shaky ground. I don't love that. I don't love hearing that. I was really surprised. You were off. I think it was Monday or Tuesday. We had Jeff McClain on, and he said, considering his contract situation, if they can't get an extension done with him, Hassan, that he could be gone. Like they could trade him.
Yeah. And look, I'm not mad at Hassan Reddick for wanting to get his value, right? He's arguably been their best defensive player over the past 2 seasons.
Yep. How
can I be mad at a guy who wants to get paid, according to that, over the past 4 years in the NFL, double-digit sack guy. Say what you want about his limitations. He has production on paper. He has production, and at the end of the day, you have to pay for production, and you also pay for projection, right? How good would this guy be, at the heat of this contract? At the end of his Eagles contract, I think he'll be 30, right? So how much will he have then? It all remains to be seen. But because of his skill set and it's in high demand, you need pass rushers. Someone's going to make the move for him, and someone's going to make him maybe not one of the highest, maybe not in the top 5, but maybe in the top 10, top 12 of salaries. You know what I mean? Trying to figure out the leverage the Eagles may have in negotiations with a guy like Hassan Reddick or even Josh Sweat. I'm trying to figure out the leverage they may have. They obviously may have more leverage over Josh Sweat because they had the down year, they drafted him. But Hassan Reddick, say what you want, double-digit sacks 4 years in a row, even in the down year for the whole defense, still produce for you. Got to pay to play.
And they get paid, man. Edge rushers get paid. We know that. All right, let's get a timeout. We're going to come back. The 5 biggest questions. The 5 biggest questions for the Philadelphia Eagles heading into the 2024 season are. We're going to go through those. Your call. If you want to work your way up, 5 through 1 or 1 through 5. I'm kind of leaning 1 through 5.
I'm leaning 1 through 5.
All right, let's do that. We'll do it when we come back. Again, 12 o'clock. We'll do back or buy, Tone. Guys who are free agents. And we've already kind of touched on it with Fletcher here. But there are many others to go through on both sides of the ball, back or buy. Anthony Sanfilippo talking Flyers and Phillies at 12:30, 1 o'clock. A lot of stuff on the NFL front. Raheem Morris is the man in Atlanta, and we'll talk about some of the branches off of that. And then at 1:30, we will break down the NFC and AFC championship games. So we got a lot in store for you. You don't want to go anywhere. And we'll get to all of it when we come back. Don't go anywhere again. That is Tone. I am Rob. We are Sports Take. Let's talk about Bravo Pizza of Havertown. I'll be checking in there about, let's see, 5.5 hours, somewhere around there. I'll be there. I'll be going there since I was a kid, family owned since 1985. Best food daily. All right. You got Alex and the crew there cranking it out. They get 20 different styles of pizza. They have slices to go. They have the specialized pizza your way. But they don't just do pizza. They have fresh pasta. They have sandwiches. They have wraps. They have wings. Anything that your palate could possibly crave, they have got you. And also Bravo Pizza of Havertown is committed to the community. They have fundraisers for charity, schools, little leagues, where the proceeds go to those organizations. You can follow them at the Bravo Pizza of on Instagram and Facebook for daily specials and promotions. They're located at 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center, Havertown, 1305 Westchester Pike, Manoa Shopping Center in Havertown. Give them a call, 610-446-3810, 610-446-3810. Here's a little bit more on Bravo Pizza of Havertown.
I remember getting my heart broken when they lost the Super Bowl in 2004. We're big Eagles fans. We moved to South Philly because of the Eagles. When they won, we went straight to Broad Street, and everybody was going nuts over there, and it was just a memory that you'll never forget.